Live in Los Angeles, this is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. In 1 hour from now, I'm going to make an announcement. I've never done this. 1 hour from now. It is crazy. I can't believe the opportunity tonight. And I'm not going to give it...
I think I know what it is.
I cannot believe what's happening. Joy Taylor is joining me. In 1 hour, I'm going to announce it. I've never done this before. So in 1 hour, this is crazy.
I think I know what you're talking about. There's a lot of firsts for in that department for you.
Yes, there are a lot of firsts.
Yes.
I cannot believe the opportunity. I want to start with this. You know, you ever heard this, Joy? When people say, well, you're rich, you live in a bubble. You've heard that term before, right? And I think it's a very fair criticism of the American media. That the American media, the network people, New York, L.A., D.C., they live in a bubble. You know, they don't have real problems and real dilemmas and the real obstacles a lot of Americans have. You live in a bubble. I think that's a real criticism of the American media. You don't get our pain. You don't see our pain. I agree. I live in a bubble. L.A., by the beach. It's a bubble, right? It's not like typical. And but does Kevin Durant realize he lives in a basketball bubble? He's got a coach that used to be a player that handles the media brilliantly. In fact, Steve Kerr was a broadcaster and a good one. He's got a GM that was a player. Bob Meyer, they say, is the egoless general manager. He's one of the only ones in the NBA. He's got no ego. You're well-funded. Steph Curry's great. You got the bouncer at the bar, Boogie Cousins or Draymond Green to protect you, and you have a very soft media in San Francisco, which the Warriors were so bad for so long. They're just happy that you're good. Historically easy media in San Francisco. Because Kevin Durant needs insulation. Kevin Durant right now is living in a basketball bubble. He needs to, because suddenly 6'1" Patrick Beverly is completely in his head. Patrick Beverly. The best basketball player in the NBA is Kevin Durant. Patrick Beverly is in his head. Last night, Durant had 9 turnovers and only took 8 shots. By the way, his own teammate, Draymond Green, got in his head earlier this year. When you go to New York, no Steph, no Clay, no Kerr, no Boogie, no Draymond, no friendly media. Kevin Durant is so easily disrupted. It's incredible. This is a guy where a headline in a newspaper in Oklahoma City, remember that, Mr. Unreliable, threw him into a tizzy. He was caught with a burner account on Twitter. He regularly gets testy with the San Francisco media, which is, by any standard, a pretty easy big market media. It ain't Philly. It ain't Boston. It ain't Chicago. It's not New York. Last night, Kevin Durant is being disrupted by Patrick Beverly. Okay, so whenever I hear this saying, man, you media people live in a bubble, I'm always like, yeah, there's a lot of truth in that. This is America's basketball bubble. Kevin Durant has a coach that used to be a player and a broadcaster, an egoless general manager. Actually, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are about as egoless as NBA stars get. You got the bouncer to deal with the tough stuff. Is anybody watching this series? Now, I've always said the Warriors are the best offensive team in my lifetime. I don't think they're the best basketball team. I think Michael Jordan's Bulls are the best basketball team, and this series is a great example. The Clippers are getting physical with the Warriors, and it gives them trouble. The Rockets got physical with them last year, and it got them trouble. I think, what would Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, and Michael Jordan do to the Warriors? They'd push them all over the floor. I do think it's the best offensive team I've ever seen. But I just don't think, it's perfect for today's finesse basketball. But one of the reasons they brought Boogie Cousins to this team, and he is out until the finals reportedly after that injury last night, is despite all of his baggage, he's a tough guy. And Wayne Gretzky, you ever notice with Wayne Gretzky's hockey teams, they always had a tough guy on the team. You mess with Wayne, we'll send our bouncer over. Wayne Gretzky never played with a team that didn't have a bouncer, didn't have a tough guy, didn't have a little bit of a hockey thug to beat you upside the head if you got in the way of Wayne Gretzky. But I'm watching KD, and I'm thinking, this is a guy that went sideways with a headline in Oklahoma City, who's regularly chirping at the San Francisco media, who had a burner account, who gets upset easily, and Patrick Beverly is in his skull. You think Patrick Beverly getting Michael Jordan's head, Kobe Bryant's head. Dude, all that stuff's not going to New York with you. Because I've been told Kevin Durant to New York's a done deal. Okay. This is the ultimate NBA bubble. New arena, lot of money, perfect coach, no ego, great teammates, got a bouncer. None of that stuff's going to New York. And I mean, even when he gets occasional pushback in San Francisco, he gets testy with the San Francisco media, which is just a bunch of people wanting you to win because they were terrible for 40 years. Lord. Okay, let's go to the breaking news. Kind of breaking last night late. Russell Wilson has signed a contract with the Seattle Seahawks. He is now officially the highest paid NFL player. It was very interesting, by the way. Russell Wilson made up a deadline. There was no real deadline yesterday except for American taxpayers. It was the tax day. But Russell Wilson said, April 15th, you either give me a new deal or I'm never signing a long-term deal. That was reported by Peter King. That was a make-believe day. I mean, the season didn't start last night and you and I missed it. It was just sort of a make-believe deadline. And Seattle completely caved. And they should have. Why? Because, as multiple sources have now said, which we broke initially a month ago, Russell Wilson was willing to leave. The word was out, and Seattle and Pete Carroll and John Schneider heard the same stories. Tyrann Mathieu's tweet yesterday, we broke this a month ago. We said he will go to New York. He is interested in New York. And now, creating sort of a fake deadline. I mean, don't these things usually take months and months and months? Russell's like, pay me April 15th. Or according to multiple reports, I'm not signing long-term. Seattle totally caved. So there's three things I think about this contract. First of all, Seattle did the right thing. Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan, they're going to score a bunch of points in this division. You got to play them twice. And Sean McVay and Jared Goff and that offensive line and Todd Gurley, they're going to score a bunch of points in this division. And you got to play them twice a year. And my gut feeling is Josh Rosen or probably Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, they're going to score a bunch of points in this division. You got to play them twice. So 6 games a year in this division, I don't care how good your defense is. With the new NFL rules, you better drop a 28-burger or a 30-burger or you're losing those games. So Seattle did the right thing. The second thing is Seattle owed Russell Wilson this. Their top wide receiver is Doug Baldwin, undrafted. He's never had a great tight end in his prime. The offensive lines in recent years have been awful. They finally hired a legit coach. It's still an offensive line that's average personnel-wise, and for many years it was terrible. And running backs, they never replaced Marshawn Lynch. He's had overwhelmingly average weapons. You owed him one. Big Ben doesn't have average weapons, ever. Breeze doesn't have average weapons. Phillip Rivers doesn't have average weapons. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have average weapons. Carson Wentz doesn't have average weapons. Aaron Rodgers had pretty good weapons. Always good offensive lines, by the way. Seattle owed Russell Wilson this. But third, and this is really, really a big one, and this is where I was told Russell got married. You marry a woman, strong woman point of view, they talk to you. And this is where Russell Wilson, this was a nonverbal deadline. Since Russell Wilson arrived in Seattle, the 12th man gets the credit, Pete Carroll gets the credit, Richard Sherman gets the credit, Legion of Doom gets the credit. They were all carrying Russell Wilson, right? That's what you've been led to believe. Short memory, Pete Carroll had been fired twice, went 7-9, 7-9, and was heading into a season with Matt Flynn against, remember those Harbaugh 49er defenses? Yeah, that would have been adorable. Matt Flynn against that defense. And Russell Wilson saved the franchise and saved Pete Carroll's job and saved John Snyder's job and elevated the franchise to a national brand, which it had never been, ever. And now the Seahawks are a national brand. And they're worth probably $1 billion more today than 7 years ago when Russell Wilson arrived. Seattle did the right thing. They owed him one-on-one weapons. But this was Russell Wilson making a demand and absolutely immediately getting his team to cave. Because he was moving. And it was out, and Seattle knew it, and he deserved it, and you owed him one. But this has been Russell Wilson's franchise for several years.